Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Angela is a champion that I've always liked, but never had the chance to rank up until recently. She's tactic for this Alliance War meta, and given she's good for Path 9 that I take quite a lot, I got to rank her up all the way to 6-star rank 5 Ascended. Yes, she is a 7-star, but for what I needed her for, that sig is important. And she's been doing brilliantly. But there's always been something that I wanted to explore further with her, and that's her synergy with Odin. This gives her 5% buff potency for each fight the team wins, with no cap. Now in Alliance War, the maximum number of fights you can take is 10, meaning you could have plus 45% buff potency going into that last boss fight. But I wanted to take it further. Much further. Just how far can we push this synergy? Introducing Incursions. This semi-infinite game mode means that we are going to be going pretty nuts with just how far we can ramp this synergy. As I'm sure many of you know, Incursions operates on a room-based system, with 3 fights per room before moving on to the next one and increasing the difficulty slightly. This means that we can very quickly stack up a lot of fights and really push this synergy hard. So this is what I set out to do. Now, Incursions has multiple difficulties, and even though I won't get any rewards from it, of course we'll be going for the easiest one, though it won't stay easy for long. This is all about ramping after all, and we want the biggest ramp we can get. Place your bets in the comment on how far we'll be able to get in Sector 1 of the Incursions. If anyone can get the exact zone and defender, I'll pin that comment. No cheating now. So we set out in Sector 1, Zone 1, and to begin with, the defenders are hardly threatening. By the time we hit Zone 20, the room scaling is really starting to kick in, and the opponents have a bit over 100,000 health and about 8 to 9k attack. Not nothing, but still not a major roadblock. Each room is harder than the previous one though, and the scaling here means that by the time we get to Zone 50, every opponent already has more health than the Realm of Legends bosses, and attack values that are significantly higher, easily over 30,000. It won't take long until we have labyrinth health pools and ludicrous attack values well over 100,000 to deal with. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. After Zone 20 we have defeated 60 opponents, meaning we now have plus 300% buff potency. Every buff we gain is 4 times bigger than it is at base. So Angela's Furies give her almost 17,000 attack increase, the Precisions over 10,000 crit chance each, and the Aptitudes increasing other buffs by 240%. Boosting the Aptitudes is doubly effective, as we can boost the Aptitudes that then boost the already boosted buffs. So, after a Special 3, when Angela has her Aptitude, we can then proc a Fury that will increase our base attack by more than 57,000. And then we can get a second one. It's really important to note that the synergy here does not specify personal buffs. Any buff Angela gets will be increased. This is why, for our first major hack, we picked up a buff cornucopia. When you trigger any buff, buff cornucopia has a chance to trigger other buffs on you, and all of these will be mega boosted by the Angela Odin synergy. In our hunt for other buffs to mega boost, major hack number 2 is perpetual offense. When you throw a special attack, you gain a pretty chunky prowess buff, but in our case, it's going to be far more than chunky. For our third major hack, I went with defensive cascade. This was a first time using this hack for me, and it has shot up the list, and for the right champion, it's almost an auto pick. It is super overpowered for the right champions. Whilst you have an armor up buff, you have a 50% chance to stun the opponent for 3 seconds, though this chance is then reduced. But if we have a relic equipped, we can also do this through block. This basically means we can just stun lock our opponents completely and they can't do anything, because Angela has easy access to armor up buffs and is guaranteed to start with one. Our final major buff is all-out effects, but this one wasn't particularly impactful, as it just increases buff and debuff duration. If I could have just chosen the buffs, I would have gone for strategic movement, for the even more giga-boosted Furies, and this would most likely by the end have given us medium attacks in the millions. but sadly it didn't appear on this run through. If I was to try again, I would probably restart until this one came up. It is just that good. Other good options would have been draining Degeneration, and this would let us power drain our opponents or degen them. Maybe Pyrokinesis or Lightning Fists for Mega Incinerates and Shocks. There's one whose name I can never remember that lets you poison the opponent whilst they're stunned, and they're stunned a lot. Or finally, Keep It Going for those massive armor breaks. All good options. Anyway, we continued our climb, and Angela just continued to get more and more powerful. She took every single fight, and the majority of the time I went straight down the left-hand side, which is slightly harder, but does give us the double little buff. At this time, it doesn't really matter which path we choose, as they all have 3 fights, so the ramp up is the same. I was just going down the left side through habit, and we get those little buffs, which provide the same boost as the standard boosts you can use. The red ones, the orange ones, and the green ones. So 15% health, 20% attack and health, and so on. We very quickly left Zone 20 behind and continued climbing. The fights just kept getting bigger and bigger, but Angela is showing no signs of slowing down. At Zone 35, we hit our major damage milestone by hitting this poor Cyclops for over 1 million damage. And that was just on the first hit of a Special 1, something really not known for its damage. We had several big hits get close, and still more than enough to one-shot Realm of Legends Winter Soldier, but this was the first time we'd hit that mark. And so, as the climb continued, with health pools and attack values climbing to match, Angela's damage was not going to be left behind. By the time we hit Zone 50, all of our buffs were now 8.5 times stronger, which led to an interesting interaction with the power rate buffs that Buff Cornucopia can give us. These aren't power gain buffs like Hyperion can get, but these ones instead increase the amount of power we get from hitting the opponent, or from getting hit, but we try not to do that. And these were never meant to be increased. This is Zone 66, and not only is our regeneration nuts, but look at how much power we're gaining on every single hit, and these buffs stack. We will be revisiting this one later on. Sadly, most of the footage I lost from Zone 70, as my phone kept overheating and crashing, but for certain our first 1 million health pool boss was Ant-Man in Zone 84 with 1.3 million. Almost certainly hit this beforehand, but I don't have anything to prove it. I'd take a chunk of power sting damage from the fight before, but given all of our buffs were 13.5 times more potent than normal, all it took was one regeneration buff, and look at the health go! One Fury here gives us nearly 50k mediums, that crit buff is giving us almost guaranteed crits, 2 Furies for nearly 200k mediums, and before you know it, 1.3 million health has just vanished. We didn't even get to throw any specials. And in just 7 seconds, we regenerated for more than 40,000 health. It was around this time that I managed my fastest fight of the run as well, versus Nebula. Over 1.5 million health in just 4 seconds. I'm afraid I don't have it recorded, but it would have been pretty much parry with the power gain buff, one combo into Special 1 that just one-tapped her. 4 seconds for well over 2 million damage is just a ludicrous speed for fights of this size. Unfortunately, again, I don't have the health values recorded for every fight I took, because I never really expected to get this far, but by the time we reach Zone 90, which is already a strange place to be, even the non-boss options like this Abomination had well over Labyrinth of Legends boss health, but they also had nearly 50 times the attack rating. Fights here sometimes started a little slowly if you couldn't get the stun from Defensive Cascade, or if Buff Cornucopia didn't give you some attack buffs or power buffs to start with. But once you got some of these things going, oh, he's dead. A casual 2.2 million crit on the first hit of the Special 2. And your Special 2 was split 30%, 30%, 40% for the damage. So combined, that would have hit for over 7 million damage. And assuming no damage caps, even Necropolis bosses are starting to worry. The great thing about using Angela in this run is that her Sig means we can pretty much ignore any damaging debuff, as well as nullify an auto-block. Angela will always have a minimum of 4 buffs on her, the one she starts with, and 3 from Odin, which is enough to reduce damaging debuff duration to 0. Of course, we usually have significantly more buffs than 4, but at Sig 200, 4 is all you need. At Sig 1, you need 10 buffs, which we could manage, but I don't want to think about how hard the debuffs would tick from an abomination with 132,000 attack rating. Though a rough calculation says it would be about 6,200 per tick. And now we start the countdown to Zone 100. 94 fell without issue, and whilst 95 had a slightly tricky Cap Infinity War boss with a protection node, that one went down too. 96 just disappeared with the boss going down in 8 seconds, and I lost the footage for 97 when my phone crashed, but 98 had no issue. Against the boss Yondu, we reached Special 3 in just 4 hits thanks to some power gain buffs, and then dropped an almost 13 million Special 3. The boss of 99 was quite clutch when he decided not to Special 3 me, and despite taking a few hits, our insanely massive armor buffs, combined with our mega regen, managed to make sure that we still ended with a full yellow bar. And then finally, we hit it. The big Zone 100. Looking down this path, we have Captain Marvel Classic, Gwenpool, and Captain Marvel Movie. A relatively nice lineup, but we had another issue to deal with. The hacks you pick up from the starting room, that are meant to last the whole run, have a duration of 99 zones. Now I imagine you can see where we're going with this. This is Zone 100, which means Perpetual Offense has run out. No more prowess on special attacks, and that's going to hurt our damage output. Why do you need prowess when you have 200k medium attacks? We still have Buff Cornucopia for another few rooms, and that can supply us with prowess if we really need it. But we scythe through Zone 100, fights 298, 99 and 300, without any major issue. Zone 101 shows us why Perpetual Offense is hardly required, as we demolish this Cull Obsidian with some 340k medium attacks, and this Eye-Hulk boss with a 2 million non-crit on the Special 1. Zone 102 has this sentry that doesn't even last 10 seconds, and this Ronin takes 1.8 million from the first hit of a Special 1. Against the boss, I missed the first parry, and Gamora's first non-crit light attack hits me for nearly 40,000, and her second hit would have killed me if not for Heimdall. Luckily, Angela's regen is now 16 times more powerful than it should be, and healing 2,675 per tick, we are quickly topped back up to a full yellow bar. However, in Zone 103, we do encounter an issue. Not a small one, a proper one. This Kate Bishop boss. She can evade when she is stunned, and will passively stun us and instantly counterattack. Now, I forgot this at the start, and we end up eating several hits. We aren't dead, and our super regen is kicked into action. But we are stunning her all the time from our hack, and we only just managed to avoid the second one on the end of our Special 1. Our regeneration almost has us top back up to full, but the recharge on her evade isn't that long. I mistime the second Special 1, and she counters and evades me again. Luckily, she pulls a shorter combo, and we can deal with that Special 2. Punish into a standard striker lag spike combo. That's enough to close out this fight, but only just. We make up for it though with the next fight, Zone 104, fight number 1, Symbiote Spider-Man. We start with 2 power rate buffs, meaning we drop a decent Special 2, pretty much instantly, to apply a whole load of armor breaks to him, and using our now 3 power rate buffs, that gives us a bar and a half of power per hit, we rocket to Special 3. Remember that we don't have Perpetual Offense anymore, so no additional prowess, meaning that what you're about to see could be higher. And that was an almost 21 million Special 3. Enough to wipe out Realm of Legends 3 times, and still have plenty to spare. Our next milestone is Zone 107, where we finally have no major hacks left. They've all run out. We have a few minor ones, increasing Fury duration, so on, and some of the boost hacks, but those are just the same as running regular boosts, so this isn't far off base Angela at all. After a 318 fight ramp, of course. This Hela fight starts off quite slowly. No Furies, no power buffs, no prowess, no hacks. However, once we get to Special 1 and that Fury kicks in, that was an 180k medium crit. What do you expect when each Fury is increasing Angela's attack rating by nearly 72,000, and we have 2 of them? Now, Hela's physical resistance is slowing things down a bit, but with all of our crits, we can cut straight through most of it. Feats of Indestructible 2 is slowing things down even further, and Heimdall saves me from eating Hela's special 2 straight to the face. But given Angela's regen now ticks for nearly 3,200, we will still end this fight at full health. However, something that we didn't have time to do in this fight is to throw the special 3. After that, we would have had a mega aptitude for more than 11 times its original strength. The 2 Furies we can then trigger after that would have combined attack value of over 1.6 million. We would have had more attack than Labyrinth Red Hulk has health. Zone 108 continues to amaze. Here is Angela pretty much just casually dropping 200k mediums, 120k striker with no crits, but now we have another major problem. And it doesn't matter how much damage we do, we can't escape it. Time. You see, Incursions only last 5 days, and in between writing notes, recording, saving screenshots, and contrary to popular belief, I do have a life, time is running out. Fast. When we started Zone 106, we only had 12 minutes left. So, we are now in Zone 109, and we only have 1 hack left, and all that is some extra ability accuracy and attack rating on our light attacks. The attack rating is also basically pointless, as I believe it only affects your base attack. And given how massive our Furies are at this point, it hardly makes a difference. But the biggest problem is that we only have 46 seconds left. So that Professor X is probably our last fight. We move, pick up our boost, sit through an obnoxiously long loading screen, and despite the fact my phone is on fire at this point, we enter the fight with just 25 seconds remaining. Now, Angela can parry non-contact attacks, so we go straight in, and once we get some Furies, we really start hitting. Though we have to wait out the falter, and even with our mega buffs and a 234 fight ramp, we can't beat the clock. So, that is where it ends, on fight 325 in Zone 109. Each Fury at this point was giving us nearly 80,000 attack rating, and each aptitude was over 1,000%. Without the time constraints, and if the major hacks got extended, I see no reason why Angela couldn't just keep going, and going, and going. So, there we have it. What happens if you push Angela to the absolute limits? For anyone curious, despite her regen being mental, I worked out that it would have roughly taken until room 4,600 before she could heal her entire health pool in 1 tick. And even in 5 days, getting there isn't likely. But by this point, your Fury buffs would be giving you nearly 3 million attack rating each, and your aptitudes would be at 41,000%, meaning that the Fury aptitude rotation would give you a Fury buff of well over 1.2 billion attack rating, and we could have 2 of those. But that would go beyond the limits of the game, which cap out at 2.1 billion. And this might cause our attack rating to go negative, and I don't even want to think about how much health the opponents would have at this point. So a big thank you to all those that have stuck with me all the way to the end. You clearly like something, so please let YouTube and me know by pressing all the happy buttons. If there's anything else you'd like to see, please let me know down below, or consider joining the Discord server. A great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future topics, and while I'm awake, I do my best to be there, as much as possible. I have many other things in the works, so I hope to see as many of you there as possible. Thank you, and I will see you next time.